Let's go straight for some analysis with Michael Priem from Minneapolis. He's the founder and CEO of Modern Impact, an AdTech firm. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you.
So TikTok app users here in the U.S. were afraid their time was up because of the Trump administration deadline for the company to sever ties with its Chinese parent company. But that Thursday deadline has now been extended again, and this time for 15 days. What do you make of this back and forth?
I think the thing that we should all be watching is just the timeline of doing a transaction that's as complicated as this acquisition, where you're not doing a full sale or a full divestiture of the assets, can be somewhat complicated. And it appears as though a lot of the regulatory compliance with the transaction has to tie with the security factors associated with TikTok. So I'm not actually surprised for a delay with as complicated of a deal and having the partnership agreements between Walmart and Oracle. So I think we should continue to look at how are they going to regulate some of the technology and security concerns that they're reviewing right now.
Do you think a deal will actually go ahead then?
I think that at this point it's that the rose is off the bloom per se. So I do think that a transaction is basically inevitable. And part of it is just, if you look at the anthropological behavior of the user adoption, you've seen so much cross-platform utilization. You see the Instagram launching the Reels, and you're seeing content being shared between multiple platforms. So at this point, it's going to be pretty hard for TikTok to back out of where they are. And in fact, in some ways, I think the press and media has not really slowed down their adoption. I think that for ByteDance, the real issue is, are they getting maximum value? Is this a time in a transaction that they ultimately wanted? And it very well may not have been the timing, but I think that a deal at this point is inevitable.
Michael, overnight, the Trump administration issued a new executive order banning U.S. investment in dozens of Chinese companies said to have ties with the military. A lot of them are tech companies, we should add. And it seems the outgoing president is still intent on severing more tech links with China.
Yeah, it seems that this TikTok transaction is the precipice to some other transactions of basically taking not only our tariff war, but also the territory between software and ownership, and how do we domicile technology and its usage. I think what's really unique about the TikTok transaction is its massive rapid growth. I mean, fastest social platform ever worldwide to grow. And then on top of it, it affects consumers. So unlike other software firms that might be very B2B business centric or have very finite specific audiences, the TikTok platform grew so rapidly and is something that affects direct to consumer. And it's become, especially with Gen Z, such a unique platform that it presents a lot of challenges of how do you control that and how do you actually stop the content sharing.
Staggering growth indeed. Now, over the past 2 years, the U.S. China tech competition at times felt more like a tech war. Do you see things changing under a Biden administration?
Well, I really do. If you take a look at software development, aside from big tech, which many of the social media platforms are now viewed as big tech, software has not really been viewed as a core competency out of the China market. You've looked at manufacturing, a lot of other industry growth. I think the idea of China's dominance or participation in the global software scene, along with big tech, is something that I think regulators in the U.S. market has said, okay, well, what does this mean? What's this race towards software and that challenge mean to the safety and security of the industry? I think the security factor around the government and different political environments is one element. It's also the massive industry that software presents. And the U.S. has always maintained being the exporter of world software. So I think that those are the broader perspective when you have such broad, wide adoption of a platform like TikTok. What does it mean to an enterprise like ByteDance? What can they launch off of it? What does it mean in the future? And those are big questions.
You mentioned the U.S. being an exporter of software, but China really has surged ahead in areas such as AI, 5G. Can the U.S. catch up, do you think?
Well, I think that's a great question. I mean, it's not only a few things that you've mentioned, there's others that, China has pioneered in. So I think that that's really where, the trade tariff war that we're basically in has translated now into these other components that you just mentioned. So we see it with Hawaii, we see it more than just TikTok. And I think right now, TikTok is basically the present victim. However, those of us that are making decisions and purchasing 5G type software, that's not a direct to consumer impact. And TikTok feels like it's impacting our home. And so I think that that's where, this has gotten such a stronger heightened scrutiny because it's impacting our behaviors.